The Nigerian music industry has witnessed a significant shift in popularity and success over the years. Many artists who once dominated the airwaves and commanded large followings have seen their careers decline. Here are 10 Nigerian artists whose careers have gone down the drain. 1. Daddy Shoki. Daddy Shoki was a pioneer of the Agbaman style of music. His popularity peaked in the 1990s with hits like Diana. However, his music career has declined significantly since then. 2. Olumentain. Olumentein's hit single Yauze became a massive success in the late 2000s. However, his subsequent releases failed to match the success of Yauze, leading to a decline in his music career. 3. Face. Face was a prominent figure in the Nigerian music industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Despite his hit singles including Femi Kuti and Kolo Mental, his career has struggled to maintain momentum. 4. Solid Star. Solid Star's music career has faced significant challenges, including limited releases and reduced visibility. Despite his initial success, he has struggled to regain momentum in the competitive Nigerian music industry. 5. Red MC. Red MC's unique style and energetic performances initially gained attention. However, her career failed to sustain momentum due to a lack of consistent quality music and strategic management. 6. Flex B. Flex B's popularity peaked in the mid-2000s with hits like Omorire and Number One Fan. However, his subsequent releases failed to match the success of his earlier works, leading to a decline in his career. 7. Tony Tetula. Tony Tetula was known for his humorous lyrics. However, his popularity has waned over the years due to a lack of consistent quality content and changing musical trends. 8. Mehdi. Mehdi's music career has been marked by struggles to regain momentum. Despite his collaborations with prominent artists, he has failed to produce hits that resonate with his fan base. 9. Korede Bello. Korede Bello rose to fame with his hit single Godwin. Despite his initial success, his music career has experienced a downturn with limited releases and reduced visibility. 10. Dija. Dija's soulful voice and potential were evident in her singles. Despite her talent, she has faced challenges in sustaining a successful music career with limited releases and collaborations. Despite their contributions to the Nigerian music industry, their careers have not sustained the same level of success as the ones enjoyed.
Africa faces a major challenge of dominance as leaders refuse to step down and hold on to power despite time and age failing them. Here are top 10 African leaders who have refused to give up leadership positions despite various challenges. 1. Teodoro Obiang of Equatorial Guinea. He gained power in 1979 and is still in power as the president of Equatorial Guinea till date, making him Africa's longest-serving president. 2. Paul Biya of Cameroon. He gained power in 1982 as the president and at the age of 92 has reportedly declared interest to run for another term during Cameroon's next presidential poll. 3. Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. He gained power in 1986 after seizing a true rebellion and has served as the 9th and current president of Uganda since then. 4. Denis Asonge of the Republic of Congo. He gained power in 1997 and before then has served as the president between 1979 to 1992. He passed the new constitution in 2015, which enabled him to stand for another term in 2016 and 2021 presidential elections with a majority in the first round. 5. Paul Kagame of Rwanda. A politician and former military officer. He gained power in 2000 after leading the Rwanda Patriotic Front. 6. Isaiah Afwerki of Eritrea is a politician and leader who gained power since independence in 1993 as the president of Eritrea and the former chairman of the People's Front for Democracy and Justice since 1994. 7. Ismail Omar of Djibouti. He gained power in 1999 as the president, making him the head of state and head of government of the Djibouti and the commander-in-chief of the Djibouti Armed Forces. He's been there up to date. 8. Faure Gnassingbé of Togo. He gained power in 2005 after his father's 38-year rule and is no longer in power as of May 3, 2025, after he was succeeded by Jean Lucien as the first president of the Council of Ministers, while the role of president became ceremonial. 9. Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast. He gained power as the president since 2010 with controversial re-election bids, but he remains the president of Côte d'Ivoire till date. 10. Ali Bongo of Gabon. He is a politician and dictator. He was the third president of Gabon from 2009 until he was deposed in a coup in 2023. He ruled for 14 years after succeeding his father's 42-year reign.
Every morning, we wake up to breaking news that breaks something inside us. Another girl gone, another mother wailing, another life violently erased. What used to be rare is now routine. From city corners to quiet towns, girls are being haunted in a society that's slowly normalizing their disappearance. The world scrolls past their faces on social media, their names trending briefly before vanishing into silence. Streets filled with laughter have become corridors of fears. Girls can't walk home safely anymore, not because they did anything wrong, but because being female now feels like a crime. Lured with job offers, attacked by lovers, raped by strangers, or sacrificed in bizarre ritual killings. These girls are caught in a vicious circle that keeps spinning because we keep looking away. Take Inyobongmoron's case. Young, brilliant, simply searching for a job, only to meet her death. Adijat, a LASU graduate, was found dead in her boyfriend's apartment. He's now on the run.
Bàbá tó pa ọmọ mi mọ̀ pé bàbá ẹ̀gbọ́n wà pẹ̀lú mi torí mi ò rí bàbá ẹ̀ rí. Mo bá ṣàdúrà mo kàn rí yàn kan tó wọ white uncle pẹ̀lú jàlábíà. Ẹni yẹn dẹ̀ ṣí ilẹ̀kùn. Ẹni yẹn ṣí ilẹ̀kùn. Mo bá bí ṣe ní kí n lọ báyìí. Mo dákú ni mo ṣe gbé mi. Bàbá boy yẹn torí pàǹtí ni mo ti padà mọ̀ pé bàbá boy yẹn ló wá wọ òkè yẹn lọ. No wá ní ọmọ yìí ti kú. Ọmọ yìí ti kú tí máa gbọ́ báyìí bí ṣe fẹ́ táwọn family member mi máa fi wá dé nìyẹn. Pàtàn débẹ̀ wọ́n snap gbogbo oògùn tán bá ń bẹ̀ ó ti dà mí sí ìta. Ibi tó ti nà picture wa tó ti ṣá tó ti ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. Àwọn míì wà tí a tẹ̀ rí for that day.
Bamshe boarded a BRT bus and never made it home. Her body was discovered days later. Many more stories stay buried, their voices muted by shame and fear. No place is truly safe, even in religious organizations. And while families cry out, society responds with tired clutches. This is more than a security concern. It's a call for education that nurtures values from the foundation. By teaching children early about empathy, respect, boundaries, and the worth of every human life, especially that of a girl child, we lay the foundation for a safer and more compassionate society.
We are in the era of social media. We are in the era of death of distance. where there is no gap again. Virtually, we are practicing homogeneity, not heterogeneity, because society, the level of exposure of some of these children, some of these words, some of these both sex to media is on the high side. So there are some things that are applicable here, and there are some that are not. But due to their exposure, they don't even know how to curtail, how to control themselves. In fact, they've eroded the culture. What we assume to be moral, they've calculated, they bought the outside the world way of life, what we call the Western way of life. What about some things we see as a form of respect? They don't see it that way. They do things the way they want to do it, the way what they learn from the media. So it's having a drastic influence. The females are not well respected the way they should. In fact, the world is not helping, because I see it as a systemic even problem, because culture is having influence in it. Economic issue, because the society is not even friendly, and everybody wants to be rich. Some of these girls are used for rituals that they are used by boys or men to make money, and because of the level of also covetousness in the aspect of the girls is also a diminishing return, is what the boys are using as an advantage. So when you look at it holistically, we will see that even the Nigerian constitution allows it, that there should be equality. Is allowed, but practically, is that what we are experiencing? No.
These girls are not random. They were daughters, sisters, students, best friends. Each of them had a light, a voice, a purpose. We cannot keep mourning them like background noise. Every time we ignore this crisis, we write another girl's obituary in advance. Enough of the hashtags. Enough of the speeches. It's time for action from everyone. Because until the day a girl can walk freely without fear, none of us are truly safe.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has made 6 bids for Nigeria's presidency, but only made it to the ballot as a presidential candidate on 3 occasions: 2007, 2019, and 2023. His aspiration for the #1 citizen in Nigeria has made him cross from one party to another many times without achieving his dreams. In 1993, Atiku made an unsuccessful bid for the presidency, but placed third behind Chief MKO Abiola and Alhaji Babangana Kinigigbe in the presidential primary election of the Social Democratic Party. In 1998, he was appointed as running mate to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and both won the election held in February 1999. Based on his ambition to govern Nigeria, Atiku attempted to vie for the presidency in 2003, after his first step as vice president based on persuasion by some governors and power brokers, but the ambition failed, and he opted for a joint ticket with Obasanjo, and Idua was re-elected. In 2006, Atiku declared his intention to succeed his principal, and the Cold War between them forced him to leave the PDP for the Action Congress, which handed him its presidential tickets. Atiku took part in the general elections and came a distant third in the contest won by the candidate of the PDP, late President Umaru Yar'Adua. Atiku returned to PDP in 2009 and was elected by the Northern Elders Political Leaders Forum, led by a one-time Minister of Finance, Malam Adamu Siroma, as the region's consensus candidate for the 2011 elections. But he was floored at the party's presidential primaries by then-acting President Goodluck Jonathan.
To realize his presidential dream, Atiku dumped the PDP in 2014 and pitched its tent with the newly formed All Progressive Congress.
APC! Change!
He threw his heart into the ring for the 2015 elections, but his ambition was truncated as he lost the party's ticket to former head of state, General Muhammadu Buhari, who had the support of party leaders and governors. Atiku resigned from the ruling party APC on November 24, 2017 and returned to PDP. He joined the 2019 presidential race and defeated 11 other aspirants at the party's national convention held in Port Harcourt. He contested the presidential polls and lost to then-President Buhari, who was the standard bearer of the APC. The 2019 loss did not deter Atiku in his bid to lead Africa's most populous nation, as he threw his heart into the ring again, immediately after INEC blew the whistle for the 2023 general elections. He contested and defeated his major challenger, the then governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, to emerge as the PDP flag bearer. Again, he lost the 2023 presidential poll to the ruling party, as he polled 6.9 million votes to place second to the APC candidate Asiwaju Bola TINUBU, who had 8.7 million votes. After losing the 2023 elections, Atiku didn't rest on his oars. He had several engagements with eminent politicians, both in the ruling and opposition, to form a coalition to defeat President TINUBU in the next presidential poll. He believes that a formidable coalition is necessary to prevent Nigeria from becoming a de facto one-party system. This conviction made him pitch his stance with other political gladiators to embrace the African Democratic Congress as a viable platform for the 2027 polls. As done in the past, Atiku jumped the ship again by announcing his defection to ADC on Wednesday. Without any iota of doubt, the move is a bold step towards pursuing his presidential aspiration in 2027 as one of the favorable candidates for the general elections. Speaking on Atiku's defection to ADC, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde said the defection of the former vice president will not make any dent on PDP as a party.
I don't think that will make any dent on PDP as a party. PDP is an institution, right? You have freedom of entrance and exit. But I think anyone that will hold PDP down is better for such individuals.
While former Secretary General of the Arewa Consultative Forum, Anthony Sani, believed Atiku joined ADC because he wants to win the next presidential election.
We in Nigeria were looking for how to win election instead of how a party that can perform. We don't look at the party that can perform, we look at the party that can win. All what politicians do. So it's not peculiar to Atiku, it's just because he's a former VP, otherwise it's not peculiar to him. It's a practice in Nigeria which is not good.
Lere Olayinka and Oladimeji Fabiyi, who are PDP chieftains, are divided on Atiku's movement to ADC. Olayinka said the defection was good radiance to bad rubbish, while Fabiyi is of the view that the resignation came out of sincere purpose.
Atiku Abubakar leaving PDP, to me, is good riddance to bad rubbish. Good riddance to bad rubbish. It is like the Hausa people will say, Shegobe.
There's never been a time that the former vice president has not been very honest with the party. The resignation came out of sincerity and what I call sincerity of purpose. The entire Nigerians would admit to the fact that the PDP has not having, its best of time since after, even before 2023 election, we were just managing it.
With the new developments, many are watching with keen interest. What will become of Atiku's presidential ambition in 2027? Will he jump the ship again or remain in ADC before next year's presidential primary elections? Time will tell.
On this bulletin, we bring you the latest from Lagos and beyond on African News 24 TV. From politics to social issues, we'll be discussing the stories that matter to you, and our correspondents are on standby. Let's get straight into it with the headlines. Ogun State government issues flood alert to residents, advises them to relocate. Nelfun opens students' loan portal for 2025-2026 academic session. Former French President Sarkozy begins 5-year sentence in prison over fraud. Let's dive into it. The Ogun State government has warned residents living in riverbanks and wetlands areas of the state to consider relocating. The warning is coming ahead of the opening of the Onyo Dam, which is expected to cause an overflow of the Ogun River. Government warns that from October 20 through November the 3rd, 2025, residents in the affected areas may have flood to contend with. The State Commissioner for Environment, Ola Oresonya, lists the affected areas to Akute, Alagbole, Isheri, Magboro, Makogi, and several other communities. Oresonya said the alert was part of the government's continued efforts at mitigating flooding in Ogun State through its periodic flood alerts. And in other news, President of Nigeria, Bola TINUBU, has reiterated his administration's commitment to upholding the integrity of Nigeria's judiciary, warning that the decay of any society begins when its judicial system becomes compromised. We have more in this report.
President of Nigeria, Bola TINUBU, has reiterated his administration's commitment to upholding the integrity of Nigeria's judiciary, warning that the decay of any society begins when its judicial system becomes compromised. The president was speaking during a capacity building workshop for judges and justices, jointly organized by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the National Judicial Institute in Abuja. The Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is representing the president at this event, reaffirms the vision of the administration to have a Nigeria that is corruption-free and built on fairness, transparency, and justice.
The EFCC, for example, has recorded over 7,000 convictions in the first 2 years of the present administration and recovered assets in excess of 500 billion naira. Recovered proceeds of crime by the agency are being brought back into the economy to fund critical social investment programs, including the students' loan and consumer credit schemes.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, reminds judges how the nation's stability rests on their shoulders. She asks them to maintain integrity and fairness.
Each ruling, each judgment carries implications that extend far beyond the courtroom. They either strengthen or weaken the people's faith in the capacity of the law to hold all persons accountable regardless of status, power, or privilege.
It's more than a professional symposium. It is a crucible of renewal, a place where investigators, prosecutors, and judges forge their instruments not in rivalry, but in unity, where the fire of intellect tempers the steel of justice.
Attendees describe this gathering as more than just a professional symposium, but one that serves as a forum for investigators, prosecutors, and judges to synergize in fostering fairness and transparency within the Nigerian justice system.
Still on the judiciary, the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi FUBARA, has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to an independent judiciary in the state. He was speaking during the opening of the 2025-2026 legal year in Port Harcourt. The governor urged judges and lawyers to uphold honesty and fairness in the dispensation of justice.
Reaffirmed his administration's commitment to an independent judiciary. FUBARA was speaking at the opening of the 2025-2026 legal year in Port Harcourt, the state's capital, where he urged judges and lawyers to uphold honesty and fairness in the dispensation of justice.
As ministers in the Temple of Justice, lawyers are under oath at the point of call to truly and honestly conduct themselves in the practice of law before the court.
Chief Judge of Rivers State, Justice Simeon Amadi, highlighted challenges facing the judiciary, including the lack of a permanent office for the Judicial Service Commission, appealing to the governor to provide a befitting complex to end the commission's dependence on the High Court building.
The commission currently operates from the High Court complex. We most humbly plead to His Excellency to break these chains for the commission to have a befitting office complex of its own, as we cannot continue to be a tenant of the High Court.
Chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Port Harcourt Branch. Again, Chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Port Harcourt Branch, Cordelia Eke, said the recent political crisis in the state offered lessons on the importance of upholding democratic values and the rule of law.
The experience of these difficult months has left us all, the bar, the bench, the political class, and indeed the people of Rivers State, with valuable lessons. Each of us bore a measure of loss, and it is hoped that through it all, we have been reminded of the enduring truth that the strength of our democracy lies in our collective resolve to uphold the rule of law.
As FUBARA declares the 2025-2026 legal year open, he commends the judiciary for its role in promoting justice and the rule of law, asking them to do more.
Meanwhile, party leaders of the governing Progressives Congress in KOGI State have assured the Governor Usman Udo and the President Bola TINUBU of an overwhelming victory come 2027. The party leaders were speaking at an event in Lokoja, where they formally endorsed the candidate ahead of the election.
Party leaders of the governing All Progressive Congress in KOGI State converged on the Muhammadu Buhari Civic Center in Lokoja, the state's capital, to formally endorse the President Bola TINUBU for a second term in office come 2027 and their governor Ahmed ODODO for another term. The rally is presided over by former Governor Yahaya Bello and has in attendance leaders and stakeholders of the party across the state. The party leaders expressed their confidence in the leadership of the men.
We are telling you today, Mr. President, that don't do any wahala that you want to come to KOGI State to campaign for your second term. No opposition in KOGI State. Those in favor that Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo, the chief servant of KOGI State, should run for his second term in 2027 and be sworn in on 27th of January 2028. Raise up your hand and say aye.
We thank Mr. President
for laying a solid foundation upon which my leader, my mentor, have come and replicated here in Kogi State.
Party Chairman Smart Adeyemi and other leaders commend President TINUBU's economic reforms and Governor ODODO's development efforts in education, healthcare, and infrastructure.
Who is Atiku Abubakar? He was vice president before, and he equally presided over privatization. All those who sold our properties, national assets, Ajakuta Iron and Steel was sold for a meager sum of what is less than the goods already produced by Iron and Steel Complex. So Obi is not a Democrat in first instance, but he lied.
While they leave this venue, they say they are confident that those endorsed will come victorious 2027 and that all hands are on decks to achieve it.
The African Democratic Congress, ADC, is asking the federal government to provide an immediate and categorical response on reports of a planned coup plot by some officers. In a statement, the party states that while it decries any attempt at toppling Nigeria's constitutional order, it is gravely worried that charges may serve as the foundation for political manhandling or suffocation of opposition. ADC cited contradictory signals issued by the government's sources, namely the Defense Headquarters, which earlier denied mentioning a coup despite reports from the media to the contrary, as a cause for worry. The party called on the federal government to elaborate on the matter at once, and if there is a valid threat as alleged, brief citizens on what is happening comprehensively while avoiding using national security as a cover to mute opposition voices. On October the 20th, 2020, streets across Nigeria shook with cries of youths demanding the permanent stop to ENDSARS and impunity. As Nigeria marks the 5th year anniversary of ENDSARS, the questions remains: what has changed? We have more in this report put together by Praise Adeleke.
Killing of innocent citizens is not a routine in my country.
Only protesting for SARS, we are protesting for Nigerian government. What is going on?
We need a better governance.
What they are using to chase us away is SARS.
We have to be here for others. We have to be here for ourselves, because we can't be in a country where they kill young people every day who can't even speak up for themselves. We can't be in a country where it's supposed to be our father's land and we are dying every single day.
5 years ago, street across Nigeria shook with the chants of restless youth. Their place card raised not just in protest but in pain, and their voices echoed across the nation. ENDSARS, end impunity. From Lagos to Abuja, from Port Harcourt to Jos, young Nigerians confronted a system they said had turned its back on them.
Enough is enough. Our voices must be heard.
They were created for special anti-robbery squad, yes? But where are they arresting youth?
On the 20th of October 2020, demonstrators gathered there once again. They sang the national anthem, they held up the flag, and then the lights went out. Gunshot followed.
Sit down!
To this day, the exact events of that night remains the subject of debate, denials, and documentation. 5 years on, the energy of those days has faded, but the wounds remain open for many.
Although it was bloody, but at the end, there was no more SARS disturbing us as the youth again.
When you look at how changes occur in other countries, it took the youth. They started it, and gradually they actually achieved their aim.
Today, as the country marks the 5th anniversary of the ENDSARS movement, the memory remains vivid, and those who joined in the effort 5 years ago now plead that their sacrifices do not go in vain.
Meanwhile, a civil rights activist, Dele Farotimi, has berated the actions of the Nigerian police and the judiciary in the cause of the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. He described it as a mere pretense to democracy, following the restrictions of citizens from holding a peaceful protest. He argued that true democracy requires police to permit citizens to protest adding that the police are only to be informed so they can provide security. He condemned attacks on the protesters led by an activist, Omoyele Sowore. Still on the protest, some Nigerians took to the streets in major cities in Nigeria, demanding urgent government intervention to tackle the country's worsening hunger and poverty crisis. Take a listen.
Leaders of youth groups, civil society organizations, and government representatives gather here in this hall in Abuja. The reason is to explore ways of advancing the sustainable development goals in Nigeria and across Africa. The organizer and the executive director of Youth Hub Africa, Farotimi, emphasizes on the need for active participation in elections and holding leaders to account.
We want them to understand the electoral process. We want them to...
Young Nigerians have been urged to take active roles in shaping the nation's political and governance processes. This advice came during the DARE 2025 conference in Abuja, a gathering aimed at strengthening democracy and promoting sustainable development. We have more in this report.
Leaders of youth groups, civil society organizations, and government representatives gather here in this hall in Abuja. The reason is to explore ways of advancing the sustainable development goals in Nigeria and across Africa. The organizer and the executive director of Youth Hub Africa, Farotimi, emphasizes on the need for active participation in elections and holding leaders to account.
We want them to understand the electoral process. We want them to listen to the manifesto so that they can hold elected leaders accountable. We want them to also pass a verdict on current leaders who are sitting if they feel they have not been accountable to the resources that they sit on.
Speakers underscore the need for active participation in politics and governance, which they say will strengthen democracy and promote sustainable development.
It is important, yes, to engage the president, but think about your local community, especially now that we have financial autonomy, to a large extent for local government. So be interested in what happens at your local level. Every place you live, there is a political representative, and it's your responsibility to know that representative, ask them questions about what they're doing to solve the problems in society.
Political participation is key to actually being directly involved in shaping the kind of country you want. However, I also tell young people that we can't all be politicians, but we can all be active citizens.
Participants agree that with Nigeria's youthful population forming a significant part of the electorate, meaningful youth engagement is essential for building an inclusive, accountable, and democratic society.
The Chief of Defense Staff General, Christopher Musa, has been making case for more investment in grassroots sports. He believes doing so will help in all the stages of development and in building character, leadership, and a united Nigeria. Our next report captures more of the event. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Nelfun, has announced the opening of its students' loan application portal for 2025-2026 academic session. Nelfun announced that the portal, which will be opened on Thursday, October 23rd, will close on Saturday, January 31st, 2026. This is according to the Director of Strategic Communications of the fund, Oseyemi Oluwatuyi, today. Oluwatuyi urged institutions to update and upload the verified records of both returning and newly admitted students on the Nelfun Student Verification Portal, saying this step is essential for students to successfully apply and benefit from the scheme. Oluwatuyi noted that returning and newly admitted students of accredited tertiary institutions are eligible for the loan, adding that fresh students may apply using either their admission number or JAMB registration number in place of matric number. Of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution Fund, TET Fund, Montari Danduse, has called for the immediate implementation of the agreement reached between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. According to him, this will address the perennial ASU strike. He was speaking while hosting the leaders of the Academic Staff Union of Universities.
Members of the Nigerian Senate are asking the federal government to immediately implement the agreement reached with the Academic Staff Union of Universities to prevent further disruptions in the education sector. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund, Senator Muntari Dantusei, expressed concern that the prolonged delay in fulfilling the agreement has continued to strain relations between the government and the academic union. He disclosed that the Senate would facilitate a meeting between ASU, the Ministry of Education, the National Universities Council Commission, and other relevant agencies to address the outstanding issues. Senator Dantusei appealed to both parties, stressing that the welfare of students and stability of the education system must come first.
The Senate is not happy that the agreement by the government to ASU has not been fulfilled. The Senate agreed to convey the government agencies and ASU, most especially the Ministry of Education and NUC, for a negotiating as soon as possible so that we can resolve this lingering problem.
He is not alone in his call. Another member of the committee, Adam Soshomole, advised ASU to be patient while the Senate works to facilitate renewed engagement between the union and the government representatives. He acknowledged the legitimacy of ASU's grievances, but insisted that continuous strikes were not a sustainable solution.
Having made your point, as ASU, we also believe, because after all, they call it a warning strike. For me, 1 day warning is enough. Once the warning has sunk down, you know we have the capacity to withdraw. You have made your point.
ASU National President Dr. Christopher Pliuna urged lawmakers to push for increased funding for universities, arguing that adequate resources would end the cycle of strikes.
As Senate, improve funding to universities. You will see what our researchers will produce. We challenge the Committee on Tertiary Education and indeed the entire Senate to try us and see. Just try us and see.
And in the northwest of the country, the Kanu state government is calling for the active support of lecturers in the state's social and security development. According to the Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, Comrade Ibrahim Abdullahi, he emphasized that tertiary institutions should be more than just places for lectures and exams. Our next report captures more.
Lamenting that intellectual silence has allowed unqualified individuals to dominate leadership and public discourse.
We cannot afford to allow the knowledge that is within the academia to continue to be wasted. We need your knowledge, we need your contribution, and we need your expertise. The literal ones have decided to fold their own arms and just only be onlookers, allowing things to go the way they are, allowing some ignorant to take the center stage in the society, determining the political direction.
University lecturers Professor Bello Ibrahim and Dr. Isa Ibrahim encourage scholars to engage in politics and governance, stressing that quality leadership depends on informed participation.
Accountability and rule of law, World Bank 2019. World Bank, that is the source, 2019. How is clear? And if you look at what OECD said, 2021, that the academia and the media foster civic education and awareness, empower citizens to understand their own rights and responsibilities, thereby strengthening democratic institutions, and what? Above all, public participation in governance.
And in health, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has called for the participation of the community in health reforms. He considers this as important to address challenges in the health sector. He was speaking at the 10th anniversary of the Stella Adadavo Health Trust.
Nigeria's coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pat, has called for health reforms rooted in community participation rather than top-down directives. Speaking in Abuja at the 10th anniversary of the Stella Adadavo Health Trust, Pat, represented by the Director of Port Health Services, Nse Akpan, said policies must reflect the real needs of citizens in school, farms, markets, and places of worship.
Nigeria is charting the way forward for many countries
in how we can accelerate expansion of access to quality healthcare, making it affordable as we continue the dialogue, which is going to translate into additional resources to provide care for our citizens. In the primary healthcare arena, we're seeing expansion of the primary healthcare system.
He stressed that engaging women, youth, and marginalized groups in health decision-making would make reforms more inclusive, sustainable, and culturally relevant.
We also had an opportunity to engage with the CEO of Wellcome Trust, one of the largest philanthropic foundations investing in health and biotechnology all over the world, and discuss the global health architecture, how the ecosystem is changing, how it's adapting to respect country leadership, country ownership, and helping countries move towards exiting dependency.
We're going on a break now. When we return, we'll tell you how much cooking gas now sells for. That's on business. Join us again.
Africa faces a major challenge of dominance as leaders refuse to step down and hold on to power despite time and age failing them. Here are top 10 African leaders who have refused to give up leadership positions despite various challenges. 1. Teodoro Obiang of Equatorial Guinea. He gained power in 1979 and is still in power as the president of Equatorial Guinea till date, making him Africa's longest-serving president. 2. Paul Biya of Cameroon. He gained power in 1982 as the president and at the age of 92 has reportedly declared interest to run for another term during Cameroon's next presidential poll. 3. Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. He gained power in 1986 after seizing a true rebellion and has served as the 9th and current president of Uganda since then. 4. Denis Asonge of the Republic of Congo. He gained power in 1997 and before then has served as the president between 1979 to 1992. He passed the new constitution in 2015, which enabled him to stand for another term in 2016 and 2021 presidential elections with a majority in the first round. 5. Paul Kagame of Rwanda, a politician and former military officer. He gained power in 2000 after leading the Rwanda Patriotic Front. 6. Esara Afrique of Eritrea is a politician and leader who gained power since independence in 1993 as the president of Eritrea and the former chairman of the People's Front for Democracy and Justice since 1994. 7. Ismail Omar of Djibouti. He gained power in 1999 as the president, making him the head of state and head of government of the Djibouti and the commander-in-chief of the Djibouti Armed Forces. He's been there up to date. 8. Faure Asingbe of Togo. He gained power in 2005 after his father's 38-year rule and is no longer in power as of May 3, 2025, after he was succeeded by Jane Lucian as the first president of the Council of Ministers, while the role of president became ceremonial. 9. Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast. He gained power as the president since 2010 with controversial re-election bids, but he remains the president of Côte d'Ivoire till date. 10. Ali Bongo of Gabon. He is a politician and dictator. He was the 3rd president of Gabon from 2009 until he was deposed in a coup in 2023. He ruled for 14 years after succeeding his father's 42-year reign.
Welcome back. Praise is standing by for our business news.
Thank you. Welcome to the business segment.
The Naira opened the week stronger, gaining 10 Naira against the US dollar. Data from the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market showed the local currency appreciated by 0.29% to close at 1,465.29 per dollar compared to 1,475.35 per dollar on Friday. In the parallel market, the exchange rate remained stable at 1,490 Naira per dollar, while GT Bank's rate stood flat at 1,475 Naira per dollar. The Naira's positive performance was largely attributed to an ease in foreign exchange pressure following a $70 million intervention by the Central Bank of Nigeria and a $92.50 million increase in the nation's external reserves to $42.68 billion. Analysts, however, cautioned that the local currency may still face renewed pressure as foreign investors offload local assets amid global risk aversion and a limited dollar supply. Despite this, improved liquidity from oil revenues, local participants and offshore inflows continues to support the forex market. And lastly, on business news, liquefied petroleum gas, commonly known as cooking gas, have started to decrease in price across Nigeria after weeks of sharp increase following improved supply from refinery and depots. Market resources revealed that the average price now ranges between 1,300 Naira to 1,500 Naira per kg. The recent price surge had been linked to a strike by Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, which disrupted supply from the Dangote refinery. Although the strike has been suspended, stakeholders said the market is still stabilizing, with hopes that prices will drop further if current supply levels are maintained. Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources has warned against hoarding and price exploitation, assuring that government measures are on the way to restore stability. And that's it on business news.
On the foreign scene, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy today arrived at the La Santé prison in Paris to start his 5-year sentence. Sarkozy, aged 70, was sentenced to prison in September for conspiracy to raise campaign funds from late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. A Paris judge ruled that Sarkozy, France's right-wing leader from 2007 to 2012, would start to serve time without waiting for his appeal to be heard, due to the seriousness of the disruption to public order caused by the offense. The former conservative president left his home for the car journey to the prison, walking hand in hand with his wife Carla Bruni, and cheered by a crowd of supporters chanting the La Marseillaise national anthem. He is jailed at the La Santé prison in Paris, where he will be kept away from all other prisoners for security reasons. And on a sad note, tributes have continued to pour in for former Kenya opposition leader and democracy icon Raila Odinga. It was a day of deep emotion and reflection in Bondo, as thousands gathered to bid farewell to Kenya's opposition leader and democracy icon Raila Odinga. From the air to the streets, chants and tears filled the air as mourners celebrated not just his life, but the enduring legacy he leaves behind. Odinga, fondly called Baba, or Ogwambo, meaning the mysterious one, was laid to rest beside his parents, Jaramogi Odinga and Mary Ajuma, following a 17-gun salute in his honor. President William Ruto led the tributes, describing the past weeks as a difficult time for the nation and recalling Odinga's courage and dedication to Kenya's democracy. The former Prime Minister, who served between 2008 and 2013, was central to the return of multi-party democracy in the 1990s and instrumental in the shaping the 2010 Constitution, which is one of Kenya's most significant reforms. Though he never achieved the presidency after 5 attempts, many remember him as a fearless advocate for justice and unity. Odinga's passing leaves both a political and emotional void, as Kenyans reflect on the legacy of a man whose influence shaped the country's democratic journey. Oluwabori is ready with our sports stories. Hello, Bori.
Thank you, Mary. Welcome to Sports. I am Oluwabore Ademola. Premier League side Nottingham have appointed Sean Dyche as the new club's head coach. Forest announced Dyche's appointment in a statement on Tuesday. The 54-year-old manager, who started out as a trainee at the City Ground in the late 1980s, signed a contract running until the summer of 2027. He replaces former Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou, who was sacked on Thursday, less than 20 minutes after the full-time whistle in a 3-0 defeat to Chelsea. Forest stated that Dyche, who former Burnley and Everton manager, will take charge of his first game on Thursday night when Porto visits the City Ground in the Europa League. The Nigeria Football Federation has confirmed the cancellation of the Super Eagles' planned friendly matches against Venezuela and Colombia in the United States, following the team's qualification for the 2026 World Cup playoffs. Speaking to The Punch on Monday, NFF Director of Communications, Dr. Ademola Olajire, said the decision was inevitable after the Super Eagles secured a playoff spot. The two friendlies, arranged through NFF's FIFA match agent Jairo Pacon of Rodata Sports, were originally scheduled for November 14 and 18 in Houston, Texas, and New York respectively. Nigeria were set to face Venezuela at the Shell Stadium before taking on Colombia at the Citi Field Stadium in Queens. The NFF had lined up both matches as part of preparations for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. However, the fixtures now clash with the CAF-organized World Cup qualifying playoffs. which will also take place between November 13 and 16 in Morocco. As it stands, Nigeria will face Gabon in one of the semi-final fixtures, while Cameroon meets DR Congo in the other. Both matches will be played on November 13, with the winners advancing to the final on November 16. The eventual champion will represent Africa in the Global Interconfederation Playoffs, offering one final route to the 2026 World Cup in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. That is it on sports news. Fawaz is ready with our entertainment stories.
Thank you, Oluwabori. Welcome to the entertainment segment. Let's dive into what's hot and happening in the entertainment world. Asian opens up about her journey and struggles in Nollywood. Nollywood actress and TV personality Asian is once again making headlines not just for her growing influence on screen, but also for her resilience and inspiring journey. The actress who shot to fame after starring in Nneka the Pretty Serpent recently opened up about a life-changing incident that left her with multiple leg fractures and temporary loss of mobility. Idia says that the experience taught her strength and purpose, leading her to advocate for people with disabilities through fashion and awareness. Beyond that, the talented star has continued to evolve in her career, preparing for her stage debut in London's Dear Father alongside Nollywood veterans Richard Mofe Damijo, popular known as RMD, and Koleremi. Idia also made headlines after revealing she once received a Range Rover gift from a stranger on Instagram, a gesture her family advised her to let go of, and she later sold the car. Through it all, Idia remains one of Nollywood's most dynamic and outspoken voices, balancing fame with purpose and using her platform to inspire strength and self-worth. Love in motion. Sean Farquhar married Shannon Maduke aboard moving train. It was a day to remember as Nollywood actor Sean Farquhar tied the knot with his partner Sharon Ifunanya Maduke in what has now been described as Nigeria's first wedding on a moving train. The couple exchanged vows aboard the Lagos-Ibadan train, transforming one of the coaches into a beautiful decorated wedding venue filled with music, laughter, and love. Videos from the ceremony have since gone viral, showing family, friends, and celebrities cheering as the train moved along the tracks. Many Nigerians have praised the couple for their creativity and boldness, calling it one of the most unique weddings the industry has ever seen. The Nigerian Railway Corporation also congratulated the newlyweds, describing the event as a symbol of love in motion. For Sean and Sharon, it was more than just a wedding. It was a statement of love, adventure, and togetherness on a journey that has just begun. That was all on the entertainment segment. I am Akoshile Fawaz. It's back to you, Mary, for the rest of the bulletin. Thank you.
For WAS. That's the much we can take at this time. But before we go, let's remind you of some of our top stories. Ogun State government issues flood alert to residents, advises them to relocate. Nelfun opens student loan portal for 2025-2026 academic session. Former French President Sarkozy begins 5-year sentence in prison over fraud. Thank you for joining in on this bulletin. Please follow us for more news and updates, and then on all our social media platforms. I'm Mary Adim. It's bye for now.